we're crafting these terms, these general ideas of what it means to be a man,
Hmm.
right? And so I'm getting this picture of myself as a young man in at 17, 18 years old. I'm also thinking about all of the movies I would watch that would tell me what it meant to be a man
Yeah.
unconsciously,
Yeah.
right? I'm thinking about the role of Disney and cartoons.
Hmm.
I'm thinking about the role of Instagram, right? Six pack abs,
Yeah.
right? And how like my body shaming, right? Like feeling like if my body doesn't fit in with what it looks like to be a muscular physique of a man, right? Becoming and with sexual conquest, you have like penis size,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like aggressiveness with your partner, or hunting women down, right? Like being a
Yeah.
player,
So we've all seen like this box like in archetypes played out in
right?
lots of avenues, lots of like media and
Right.
content, right? And so we kind of like we all know them, right? We all kind of know the or feel the expectation, right? This is also like the grade school playground, the middle school locker room.
Boys don't cry, right? Like boys' bedrooms are blue, girls' bedrooms are pink,
Yeah.
right? Like this, like right. So I feel like we're what I'm appreciating here is that in this moment is that like we all know this, but I think the point that's becoming more concrete for me, and what is important to bring in here for the listener, or for men who, or anyone who's listening to this, is that this has that this is a part of our, so much a part of our culture that we might reject it, right? Like, I am not a part of that. This isn't how I am, but I actually have to reject it. Like, as a human being or a person who identifies as male, I actually have to like earn either I feel like manhood needs to be earned, or I have to fight to be in there
Yeah.
and to stay in there,
Yeah.
or somehow if I even choose not to,
Mhm.
I'm somehow removing myself. I'm
Yeah.
somehow not being that
Yeah.
thing.
I often say, Chris, like we all were like explicitly told these things. Like if you fall as a little kid, like I mean, the stereotype is like, "Oh, you're fine, get up, right? Don't cry."
Right.
Right? It's
Right.
explicitly told to us, but also
Right.
just the way like the images have been sold to us, right? Or just like even feeling, right? Like we internally know this, even if I kind of like, oh, I don't subscribe to that, I don't have to be macho, we still feel that pressure sometimes.
And that is the creepiness. Like, that's the existential kink. That's the paradox to manage here. That's the thing that is so pervasive.
Hmm.
Um, you have and then just in my mind things pop in like feminism, Me Too, wanting to be a good man, like
Yeah.
wanting to not be this other kind of man that the media has portrayed, right? But then being labeled some other kind of man, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember for me, early in my 20s, somebody called me and another friend metrosexual,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, what? I had never heard that term before, right? and
Yeah.
and I just like was like, what?
You're speaking to like the consequences, and so like our culture has, like we mentioned before, really kind of narrowly and rigidly defined the idea of what it means to be a man. We're all human beings, and as a human being, I have emotions and sadness.
Mhm.
But if that's not manliness and I experience those things, I fall outside of that box.
Right there, I'm a human being, I have emotions,
Hmm.
and now I fall outside of that box, which means I'm violating it,
Hmm.
right? So I'm somehow not being this thing to even just have emotions,
Yeah,
right?
like a
And
human
so,
experience.
right, and I think that that's where this started to crystallize for me over the past 5 years, was spending more time with all different men, types of men who identify as male, and yet they realizing that we all exist and deal with these violations
Yeah.
of the man box.
And we all, like every guy knows the experience of falling outside of the man box, right? You get
Mm,
called names, or sometimes it's even like physical consequences. So you get called
yeah,
names, metrosexual, don't be a
yeah,
wuss, don't be
yeah,
a, right? All
yeah.
these, like,
I'll say some that
go for it.
like not sitting in your office as don't be a sissy, don't
Yeah.
be a fag,
Mhm.
don't be gay, don't be a mama's boy, don't be a weakling,
Yeah.
right? Like toughen up, man up,
Yeah.
right? And this whole culture of and the wild thing is how even as I say those things, right? Like when you said like, oh, come on, get up, give it another try, as an athlete and as a young man who found purpose in athletic like spaces, there's a constructive quality to that. No, you can do this, like give it another try.
Yeah.
And
Resiliency and grit are good qualities.
exactly. But there's this thing that I think and there's a reason why we're here. And this is the second episode, right? It's this shame. And so, what is the role of shame then in, in the man box?